UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Infinite diversity.
Live long and prosper, and welcome to Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast, here on the United Federation of Podcast Network. I'm your host for today, Justin, and joining me are my co-hosts, Brandon and Chrissie. So, Chrissie, how are you doing today, knowing that there is no time?
Not good. Got to get things done. In a very short period of a lack of time, yeah.
Yeah, and sorry we sound somber. It's a bit of a somber novel we're talking about today, but
just a bit.
Brandon, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, but somber? Ain't nobody got time for that. No time.
Are you referencing something specific?
Yes, I am. That I don't know, there's like some news thing where it's old. It's like 5 years old already. Chrissy, how old is this thing?
Oh, gods. Was that the same guy as the hide your kids, hide your wife?
No, that wasn't that.
Okay, that's way back.
That was a black dude, and the other one was a black woman. There was two different ones, though. Two different news stories.
I may not be aware of the news story and have only seen the meme and heard the meme. That's funny.
Yes.
Okay. Not sure what to say about that. Moving on.
We appreciate the levity,
okay,
yes.
So,
given what we're going to be talking about.
Okay, here, then, fine. Then we'll go into this, okay? You know, after reading this, okay, we're going into Coda Book 3. Everybody, hide your kids, hide your starships. David Mack coming in, going to be killing all your peoples.
Okay, so everybody, welcome to the memes from over a decade ago show. Next thing we're going to be talking about is the hamster dance. Oh, poor Justin, just sitting there going, no.
Just trying to move this thing along.
He's like, we really don't have time if you keep this up.
Before we jump into our very merry topic for the day, we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons who make our show possible, particularly our associate producer, David Willett, who has joined me on that list. Listeners, we'd love to add your name to our list of associate producers, and we can do that with your monthly subscription of just $10 a month at patreon.com/UFPEarth. Also, don't forget, like I apparently forgot last episode, to tell you about the Boldly Go project. Celebrate Gene Roddenberry's centennial by sharing what gives you hope for the next century. Go to boldlygo100.org or use the hashtag boldlygo100 to show what makes you optimistic about the future. No news for today because we have just talked about the news on the last episode, which we just recorded. But today we'll be talking about Star Trek Coda Book 2, The Ashes of Tomorrow. So we did previously talk about the first book, and I think we had a long discussion about whether or not you should have read lots of other Treklit beforehand. So I guess what I'll say at this point is I think the consensus was you can go ahead and jump into it. There may be some things that might not make sense, but also listeners, I think we'll be going into spoilers right away for this book. So if you don't want to hear that, go ahead and read the book and come back. Or
Ro
if
and
you just
Quark
want to listen.
Die.
Oh, right off the bat.
Spoilers. Looks like everybody's going to die in this whole thing. Okay, so anyway, we're going to talk about Star Trek Coda Book 2, The Ashes of Tomorrow, which we have definitely been highly anticipating. Let's just talk about some initial impressions. And again, listeners, there'll be spoilers galore probably even in our initial impressions, so you've been warned.
Can I go first, actually, on this?
Yes.
I was really, I didn't understand
Brandon.
why we read this book, like this Captain Kirk adventure where he falls in love with this Klingon Romulan thing. Like, it was good, but I don't know, I didn't catch the connection here, so...
Okay, I think you're referring to something I haven't...
Ashes of Eden?
I haven't read. Is this one of the Shatnerverse books you're referencing?
Oh, did I read the wrong thing? I read the Ashes of Eden.
What is... Ashes of Eden? Okay,
if I remember correctly, that was the first Shatner book. Shatnerverse.
It was, yeah. It was one of the 70 novels that took place in between the second start of the Right and Straight on a Morning, and the start of Generations.
Yeah.
So like the 70 novels that took place in those 15
those
minutes.
each take place in their own timeline.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yes, that is a different novel. This is The Ashes of Tomorrow. But since you've stolen the attention, do you want to tell us about your initial impressions about the book we know you actually read and you showed us right before this?
It was good.
It was good.
Yeah.
That's it.
It was really good. I you know what? I couldn't believe how fast a read this book was. Like I was completely captivated right from the get-go. The chapter that had me all in going into it. Like there was one chapter I was like, I didn't really care about, and I'm sure you loved it, was the chapter with the Klingon crew. I don't know, it just felt weird to have them in this book.
You have no honor.
I know I have no honor with the Clag. I love those books with the Candido, so I'm fine that they're here, I guess. It just was unexpected, and
it's the completely unexpected key to the next book. You'll see.
Oh, maybe, yes. But the chapter that had me all in was the Starfleet thing, when they're all sitting around talking about what's going on, and I just loved it. That was great.
We'll definitely talk about
The
that.
meeting-
I was all like,
okay.
I was content to have, I was like, oh, I gotta write this note, there's something weird going on with Riker, and then like the next chapter they talked about it, so I was like, oh, I thought this was something that was gonna play out next book. I'm like, what's going on with Riker?
No.
So
Riker does some weird stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Chrissie, initial impressions?
I want the next one right now. Right now.
I know. Well, as we record this, it'll be out in 16 days.
That's true.
So,
That's true. No, I got sucked into this too. I don't know if I'm sure I mentioned in the last one that I blocked off the day that the first one came out so I could just read it. And I tried to do that with this one. I wasn't quite able to, but I think it only took me 3 days of finding time to read it to get through it, because it is so unputdownable, which is a word that I used to see all the time when I worked at the bookstore. Yeah, I'm kind of blown away. I'm sad in
sounds
parts.
like a made-up word.
Other things making sense of.
Unputdownable?
All words are made up.
It has been in the English language since 1553. So
Seriously, did you
As I
actually just look
made
that up?
no, I didn't. I just made that up.
It's been around for at least a couple decades. Now I have to look it up. But yeah, it's so good. I can't wait to get into particulars.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, well, you say it's unputdownable, and it totally would have been for me if I didn't have like work and like a bunch of other stuff that I do besides Star Trek, because usually it takes me about a week. I average like 50, 60 pages a day. But it was painful. It was like, I can't read any more today. But yeah, this is really good. There were definitely some unexpected things in here that I'm sure that we'll talk about, where I was like, wow, I didn't expect that to happen. And there were some really cool, meetings of people and things that were going on. And, as I've talked about before, DS9 is my favorite series. It was a pretty heavy DS9 focus, which is great. It's just what they're doing to put everything together, I think, is really exciting. And, as we've talked about before, it is bittersweet, right? Like they're wrapping up this thing, but it's so cool that they're having these stories and putting these things together and giving more for these characters. I'm just like loving and enjoying like every bit that we can get. And there's only one more book. So I loved it. I thought it was really great, and can't wait to see what they do with the next one. That's for sure.
I read 60 pages and then couldn't pick the book up again for 10 days. 'Cause I was so busy.
Because that must have been painful.
Yeah. That could have been the reason too why I didn't like the Klingon chapter that much. I picked it up and then I'm like,
Okay.
or it was like right before I put it down, and I'm like, this is what I'm ending on right now. Is this Klingon one? So, yeah.
So let's talk. There's a lot going on in this novel. We're not necessarily going to get to all of it, but I'm sure we'll reflect on it when we talk about the third book, some of it. But and Chrissie, as always, has put together a great outline with lots of things to talk about. I'm probably going to jumble up the order, because the first thing I want to talk about is the thing that I found to be unexpected, because in the first book, you have this threat from the Davidians. They're consuming these timelines. It seems like, they're doing it from the far future. Everything is in danger, right? So the thing I totally didn't expect is, after that, Picard comes back and is basically talking to Starfleet Command, like, we got to do something. And the response is basically like, yeah, we're not going to do what you want to do, because we need to focus on I think they talk about like the present threat, like, oh, they could, affect these time-sensitive species and these temporal assets and all of that. Like they're concerned about like the here and now, and Picard's like, this could destroy everything, guys. Like, and he doesn't really get through to them, which leads to some of the later stuff we'll talk about. But I was that totally threw me by surprise, because I thought like Starfleet would be all in, and but he's getting this resistance. And as you put in the outline, and I thought about this too, it's kind of like a bit what happens in Star Trek Picard, where Picard is like, we have to keep going with this mission, we have to do it, and they're like, no. Right? And there's even a place in there where in this book he's thinking about the potential of resigning. So it's kind of like an echo of that, but it's definitely not the same thing going on. But Chrissie, I'm just curious, was this unexpected that Starfleet was so resistant?
Yeah. I did not expect that was going to be the case, but I don't know. Once it happened, I was like, oh, this makes sense, because that kind of allows everybody to go rogue, and you're going to be able to bring in people who wouldn't otherwise like be there if it were necessarily a Starfleet sanctioned thing. You can pick up a few people from this ship and from this ship, and
Yeah. Like, I think that the interesting thing about it is, like, as readers, kind of knowing what the framing is for this, we know Picard's right and they got to do something, right? But if you take yourself outside of that and knowing basically this is like wrapping up this whole thing, and the timeline's probably going to be destroyed, what Starfleet is talking about, yeah, it actually makes a little bit of sense. Like, okay, we've had all of these losses, all this stuff has gone on, and you want us to do something about something that might happen like 4,000 years from now? Are you crazy? Like, and you're like, oh, maybe that kind of makes sense. But Brendan, like, what did you think? Was this unexpected, or what did you think of it?
I don't think it was unexpected. I think that's kind of par for the course when you're writing novels and stuff like that, is that they got to have that extra level of difficulty to get the task accomplished. I mean, we had this in may not necessarily be before the event. This also happens after the event, when you question the actions of a character, like the one when the Section 31 one wrapped up with Picard that David Mack wrote, Collateral Damage there. There's the looking back on what they've done and how you could take everything out of context. Like, it's just the other side of that coin. And then there's like when Picard, you have to stay on the Enterprise by Romulan space, and you can't come to Earth to save Earth from the Borg, because you're corrupted and whatnot. And then they have to go rogue in Star Trek Insurrection because Starfleet's not listening to them. So that's kind of par for the course, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Maybe what I had expected instead was that Starfleet would be all in, but the resistance they would get would be from other empires and powers and species, right? Because so far, even in this second book, like, there are glancing references like, oh, there's something going on in Gorn space and with the Tholians and, the Typhon Pact and all of that. But they're not really involved in this in the way that maybe you had those other powers involved in the Destiny trilogy, let's say, because of that threat. So it's kind of Starfleet is trying to do something. So maybe I just wrongly expected something else, but for some reason it just totally took me by surprise. But I liked that because it was different than my expectations.
I think we expect Starfleet to always be on the right side of things, at least by the end of whatever it is, unless it's something super personal.
In the end.
Yeah, and they may be. But, to another thing that this echoes greatly is Search for Spock. And
stealing the Enterprise. Or they think they'll be stealing the Enterprise.
But the whole thing of Kirk and them going rogue in that, you understand why Starfleet doesn't want to risk that for one man, okay, or what they perceive as, it's Spock, he's dead, but this is the entire everything. It's not just the universe; it's everything. So I guess I kind of expected them to be a little more interested.
I could see that. Yeah. I mean, and I think, well, this maybe goes into another topic that you had here. One of the things that happens is Picard basically decides, you know what, there's so much at stake. I am going to go rogue. And he has, these people that he gathers together. You call it the Vineyard Conspiracy, which I like. He has these people that he invites for dinner, supposedly. I think people from the Enterprise crew and other people. And like over the course of the book, he recruits, Tom Paris and B'Elanna Torres and the Aventine crew and, like eventually people from Deep Space Nine and all of that. But in all of this, Riker is kind of his adversary, and Riker is dealing with this stuff within his head. It seems like in the book, like it's echoes of alternate Rikers or something like that have died. So he's being tormented by this, and there's this conflict within the crew, and he's like chasing Picard, which I found very entertaining at how clever that all was. But yeah, so like getting into that conflict and what's going on with Riker. So what did you think of all of that, Chrissie?
Having Riker in opposition to him is tough to read. It's tough to see.
And Riker is like extremely angry, like angrier than we usually see him.
Yeah, he is not himself.
Yeah.
And I think what's really the issue with how Troy is going to deal with that is so difficult too, because if you think of it, going back to the series, you're like, okay, she'd be able to turn around and say, nope, we need to work against Will because it's not Will, and because of X, Y, and Z. She can't really do that now, and she can, but she doesn't. I think we'll see how that falls out in the next book. But she is in a different position now as his wife, that I think she's going to try to work on it from her end as opposed to getting, what's the word I'm looking for? Bringing the efforts together with Picard right at that point. But
I guess I should point out, like at this point, Riker is an admiral, but the Titan is kind of his flagship, and Vale is the captain. So there's also like that tension with Vale as well. And like I thought it was really interesting in this book that he refers to her as commander at one point, and he seems to say he has 2 children. So he's like seeing echoes of other things, maybe even in the Prime timeline.
And he's spending time in it. There's one chapter that ends with him talking about being in a bucolic woods or something like that. He basically describes
and he tries to go on the holodeck like for an Alaskan cabin or something like that, right? To try to relax, because this guy's having some serious like mental health issues right now. But Brandon, like, what did you think about what Riker's going through and that kind of conflict Riker has with Picard?
I think it's interesting because they're tying it back into that parallel dimension that we've experienced in the one book
from Headlong
Flight, and we've already seen that Riker is kind of like phasing in between them or something like that. But I think
he's seeing echoes of them. I don't think he's phasing between them. I think he's dreaming about and seeing within his mind.
He's saying
like echoes
dreaming,
of them,
but I mean, like I'm thinking that he was there,
and
like
the way Worf was
came back, like in parallels, right?
See, no, I thought they had said later that what's going on with him and with Worf, who's having a similar trouble, is that they're like echoes of dead timelines, of like their selves in dead timelines.
Right. Yeah. But so my interpretation of that dream was that it wasn't a dream. He actually was there for that dream. Right. And I could be wrong. Right. But yes, these other things are echoes and stuff. And so he's getting confused. Right, because he's sensing all this other stuff. But I mean, like, so yes, they have to follow, on one hand, they have to follow that up. On the other hand, I kind of almost would have liked to have seen it had Riker not been compromised and he was still against Picard.
Oh, that would have been interesting.
But, because like people have differing points of view, and like, I mean, while it's going to turn out that Picard is right, I mean, there are people who are going to disagree with him, right? And I think it would have been interesting if that conflict was there as not a result of Riker's going insane,
Okay.
But on the other hand, then if that were the case and he wasn't going crazy, then it's like, well, Riker's wrong and Picard's right is what it boils down to, So I don't know. Like, it's just it's fine. Like, it works just fine for me.
No, it's interesting to think about that choice that they've made here. Yeah. But like I thought I'm always very entertained when there's kind of like this cat and mouse game, and they're doing like Picard does like all of this clever stuff to like lay false trails and stuff. I don't know. I find that kind of stuff very entertaining. I don't know if you guys found it the same way, but
Yeah.
but I do like that. We're like, oh, I didn't expect, like at one point, what is it? B'Elanna and Tom are like the decoys on the Enterprise.
Yeah.
At another point, they do a beam out to a cloaked ship, and it's like, I love that kind of stuff.
It was nice that they got some spotlight in this. Like, I loved that Paris was assigned to go and watch them, but he's like, I still believe you and I want to be a part of it. Like that
was great.
I'm so disappointed. I know it kind of would have been rehashing crap, but I would have loved to have had a chapter that was just that dinner and them talking about it. I missed that dialogue. And I mean, I guess it would have just been rehashing the Starfleet meeting already, but I think it would have been fun adding that element, having Tom Paris in on that discussion. You know, like, I don't know. I missed that chapter that it wasn't there.
Yeah, I could totally see that. And also for Tom Paris, I was kind of delighted by what he was doing in this novel, because we know of Tom Paris from Voyager as somebody who can be a little rebellious and can, you know, go out on a limb for certain things. And
like
at first I was like, yeah, like Water Planets. I think 30 Days is a great episode. But at first I was thinking like, oh, they've told him to watch and he's going to do his job. That doesn't quite seem like Tom Paris. But then later when he said, I'm actually with you, I was like, that sounds like Tom Paris to me, that he would do that. So yeah, it was interesting, like getting all of these people together who have loyalty to Picard, or in Paris's case, he doesn't really have loyalty to Picard, but he sees what's going on, reasons it out, and is like, I think you're doing the right thing here, and how can I help? So they play their part. So I like that a lot.
I did appreciate how.
By the way, go
sorry,
ahead.
I did appreciate how Picard threatened to sick the dog on him. He was like, "You have a dog."
Number one. Yeah.
Except he called him a terrier, and
is
number
cool.
one is definitely not a terrier, but a terrier was the thing that
Pitbull.
that from the episode where they thought that he killed the person.
Well,
so.
I mean, this is a different timeline than the show Picard takes place in, so maybe he has a terrier in this timeline.
Yeah.
Right, but also dogs don't last forever, and I mean, number one is probably not born at this point, even still.
That's possible. Yeah,
Well,
that's true.
I
'Cause this is
I was just looking at the connection
like
with
12 years before.
what is that? The name of that episode where Paris, where they think that he killed somebody and he has to read.
Is that vis-a-vis?
Prime
Is that what that
factors?
one's called?
Or not? No, ex
I don't
post
think it's
facto.
prime.
Ex post facto.
Is that what it is? Ex post
Yeah,
facto.
ex post
Okay.
facto.
Yeah.
Because it's the dog that answers.
That's
anyway,
right.
but yeah.
That one's a pretty weird episode. But yeah. Oh, by the way, while we're talking about Voyager, I think I had said last time that I would love it if like Voyager comes back from like, you know, wherever they are outside the galaxy, which we left them in the other novels. I was listening to an interview with James Swallow. I'm not sure if it was probably on Literary Treks. And he was basically saying that they're actually not allowed to bring Voyager back because Kirsten Beyer wanted to like keep it in the place where it ended. So I was a bit disappointed by that, but I guess I can understand. So anyway, something I learned.
Yeah.
But at least we get to see Tom and B'Elanna. I thought that was really cool. At least we get some Voyager characters and they get to play their part here. So, okay. So, I mean, I think we've talked about kind of the response from Starfleet and Picard getting this group together for, you know, this conspiracy and Riker opposing him and not catching him. But let's kind of shift back over, I think, to what takes up a lot of the novel, which is stuff related to Deep Space Nine. So you actually see Ben Sisko as captain of the Robinson, and he is, you know, facing down these snake-like creatures, right, which is pretty terrifying. And I think, I don't know if we've talked about it in this podcast or elsewhere, but, you know, in the novels, Sisko returned from the wormhole, the Celestial Temple, like a year after, or I think when Rebecca, his daughter, is born. And then after that, he's kind of not sure what to do. He's a little listless, and then he goes back into Starfleet to be the captain of this ship exploring the Gamma Quadrant, which I always thought was kind of a little disappointing. But so I liked that basically he takes leave from that. He goes to Bajor to be able to, I think he first sees Jake and his wife, And then he goes to see Kira because the prophets are giving them these visions of kind of what they need to do. So I love getting Sisko back into kind of that part of his character. But before we talk about kind of like where it goes with what they need to do with Deep Space Nine and the wormhole, like what were your thoughts on Sisko in this novel, Brandon?
It was good to see him. I'm really looking forward to seeing where they're going to go with him. One thing I wanted to mention before I forget is when you guys were reading the Jake Sisko stuff, did you guys picture Tony Todd or Sirach Lofton?
Oh,
that's interesting.
I totally pictured Tony Todd for those scenes.
I pictured Sirach Lofton. That's been interesting. But I mean, at the same time, like, you know, what you see in The Visitor for Jake's wife, Karina, is in this book.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and
I totally thought of Sirach Lofton. Like, Sirach Lofton, like, now.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's even a comment in there, I think, where somebody says he looks like Ben Sisko used to look, or when he was younger, or something like that. And Sirach Lofton looks a little bit like Avery Brooks.
See,
at one point. Anyway,
when reading him, I picture Tony Todd, and then when I'm reading older Wesley, I'm picturing of older Wesley from Hyde and Q. Right?
Of course you are.
The guy in the sweater that doesn't look anything
blonde,
like Will Wheaton now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
While we're on random, did you notice stuff? I thought it was absolutely beautiful that the discussion about his novel and what it was going to be called. And his wife's like, I like Rising Sun better, and he's like, all right,
Rising Sun, like the actual
yes.
DS9 novel.
Perry's book. That's cute. That was cute.
I like that. But sorry, Brendan. Yeah. Besides your thoughts on Sisko?
I thought it was. I think it's great to have him back. I mean, I want more Sisko. Like, I'm the thing I'm disappointed the most is, like, I loved the Mission Gamma book that we got, like that one standalone book, because I loved David R. George III, and I would have loved to have seen more of those. But I realized that all things must come to an end, all good things, right? Yeah. But it was neat to see him, like, and the loyalty that these people still have for him, right? Because he was a great captain. So it was nice to see, Bashir come to him and O'Brien come to him, and Kira come to him. It was good,
Yeah, I really like that as well. What did you think?
I guess they went to Kira. Sorry, yes, but
they all came together at some point. I have trouble with novel Sisko.
Even in this one?
Well, in this one, I have less trouble with him. Let me put it this way: I have less trouble with him once he gets things reconciled with Cassidy. There's the whole, I don't know, what is it, like a third of the post-series novels where he's like, I'm going to stay away from you because the prophets told me to stay away from you, and we're going to get a divorce, and he won't tell her why, and he runs away and he's not dealing with his problems, and that wasn't Sisko to me. It didn't make sense. Mm-hmm. He makes sense here. This feels more like what would have been
he now has a purpose, right? He now has a purpose. Yeah. Maybe he didn't as much in that other period.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, it seems like the lack of communication with the prophets issue, it was like they used him and then dropped him, which, while that is par for the course for the prophets, certainly, as we know from his mother, I don't know, it didn't feel right. So it was nice to see, it was nice to read him as what I felt was more himself. But I had to kind of step back from having been annoyed with him over many previous novels. So
okay, I could definitely see that. But yeah, he does communicate with the prophets in this. They're kind of giving him an indication of what he needs to do, and and in the end, he has to be behind a plan to destroy the wormhole and effectively kill the prophets forever, which is a pretty radical solution, but they get everybody behind that. But before we get to that, I'd like seeing Kira as well. I know maybe it's not everybody's favorite thing, but I've always really liked and thought it was appropriate that Kira becomes part of a religious order and becomes a Vedic, because I always felt during the show itself that, yes, Kira had been, this freedom fighter for her people, and had put a lot of energy into that, but there always felt like something where she wanted to explore more like her own spirituality or her connection to the prophets. So I really like that we've gotten a good amount of that in the books, to the point where she's a Vedic and they get to see her in this monastery. I mean, to the point where she is the one, as the hand of the prophets, to actually press the button to destroy the new station and close the wormhole. But I wanted to ask about that because I really did like Kira in here. But what did you think about Kira?
So I don't know. I never liked that she went into the monastery.
Okay.
Right? That always felt like a weird choice to me. I know she's always been a spiritual person, but it never seemed like that was a path that she wanted to be on. Like, that kind of just came out of left field in the books to me. You know, we had a lot of time jumps because they wanted to get the books caught up with each other and whatnot.
Yeah,
so
there's like 4 missing years or something.
Yeah, there wasn't
right?
a lot of explanation on all these changes that happened. So I don't know. So that one always felt a little odd to me. But I mean, like, so did Cisco being in charge of the Robinson at first, right? Because it's like, well, no, he should be on the station, and there is a station there. So why wouldn't he just be on the station again? You know, it had its own positives in the novelverse, but I guess it works. But like, it also kind of feels weird. Like, she'd be the one to push the button when I think it should have been Cisco would have been the one to push the button. I think.
But see, it's like To me, the way I thought about it, and this is what I got from the book, is that as the emissary, Cisco is the one that can be in contact with the prophets and convey messages. But what's established in the novels, I think, is Kira is considered the hand of the prophets that can take action on their behalf. So she's the one to take the action instead of just... And Cisco's there to convey the message and get everybody behind it. But it's Kira that is, like, in a way, manifesting physically as the prophets to take this action.
Well, when did they call her the hand of the prophets?
It's in one of the novels.
Yeah, it's during the whole...
I'm trying to remember
Gamboa
because...
thing.
Is it during that whole thing?
Yeah, because she's the false hand.
That's right. Yeah, it was during that whole long arc with Ileana Gamor, I think, and part of it was in the Mirror Universe. Spoilers for other books, but no, it did happen before. I think it's been a while since they've talked about it in the novels, but I think he's pulling from that thing that happened before. So.
And I think that's supposed to touch back on the Reckoning, where she was, the prophet was contained within her. At least I always read it as such.
Does that mean Jake is the hand of the Power Eighths?
Yes.
No. That was Ducat.
What an
and he is
episode
dead.
that is. No. Yeah. Book 3, Ducat returns.
Ugh.
He's behind the whole thing. He's been planning it all this time, and he's not dead. No, probably not. That would be ridiculous.
Now I've killed 2 Daxes.
Oh my goodness!
Wow, that's dark.
Wow.
The first thing I thought of when you said that when Ducat's not dead was the Q conspiracy about JFK Jr. Sorry.
Current events.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I was looking it up, and it is in the novel Warpath, which was by David Mack, where Kira became the hand of the prophets.
And if it is connected to the Reckoning, and we see the Reckoning tablet in Picard's office, just saying.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't
Could
know.
be.
I still don't think that this is gonna like reset and like we're gonna
end
end up.
So
this is just gonna. They're gonna fix all this. It's gonna be done, and this will just end like The Sopranos, where it's just done and the adventure continues afterwards.
That's a possibility, but I think the other possibility is that those who have survived are there at the end to make the conscious choice to sacrifice their own timeline.
So you don't think that this is going to end up, because this is time, because they're going to fix these beings that are intertime, that this is just going to end up as a massive reset button at the end of the book, and then this timeline will just be, this story will be done, and it'll just keep going on? No.
If they were going to do that, they didn't need this.
I don't think so, but if they are going to have the story go on, they would fix the issue and their timeline would survive, and then it would go on. But
that's not necessarily fair to say, though, Chrissy. Like, if they were going to do that, then they didn't need to write Year of Hell 1 and 2, because they just reset it at the end.
Okay.
172 episodes of Voyager, we didn't need 130 of them if they just didn't want to do the reset button, right? Because they just always did.
It isn't used that much.
All right, point taken. Point taken.
Yeah,
I guess what I mean is they didn't have to put us through this. Which Year of Hell still applies, but yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've just thought since the beginning that there's going to be a conscious choice to sacrifice their own timeline to some technobabble way to destroy this whole thing so it doesn't affect other timelines, including the Prime timeline. And that will be it. Although that would be weird if it's just like, okay, timeline's gone. I mean, maybe there'll be like a little epilogue in the Prime universe or something. Maybe you talked about this before, Chrissy, like a little blip or something.
Yeah. Here's what I'm seeing.
The adventure continues.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
The end of all good things. When every last Enterprise explodes, and you get the image of him on the Encounter at Farpoint era, and then you get the image of him 25 years on, where he apparently looks like he's 150 because we know what he looks like then, and and then it's left, and he's he's got his head down on his knees and his fists up on his face, and he expects to be dead. I always read that as Picard expected to be dead, and then it's okay.
Yeah.
And the Prime timeline is reset, but the rest are gone. And I think we're going to end with Picard, Prime timeline Picard, in a similar situation. Not literally in that he's got his head between his knees, but
okay.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about how I see this, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit.
That's all right.
Because at the end of this novel, when the different people are together, Bashir basically says, "Let's go to the mirror universe to
that is insane.
Go somewhere where Riker can't." What's that?
That is insane.
It is.
It's a bit insane, but I think it does connect over to, what is it, Disavowed, where Bashir was in the Mirror Universe, Mirror Savick with Memory Omega, which has like a ton of weapons and fun stuff. So it's a way to play for time because they can kind of avoid that. But
I don't dislike it, but it's insane.
Yeah, but it's insane. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I read that and I was like, what? I mean, I know we've seen the Mirror Universe a lot, but I did not expect that. But anyway, so where I'm going with this is... so he can go over to the Mirror Universe. I do think, I mean, it's David Mack that's writing the third book. Lots of people are going to die, right? I think what's going to happen is that they're going to try to get help in the Mirror Universe. Maybe they'll get a little bit of help, but
Smiley.
where they, and you'll see Smiley. I mean, and maybe you'll see, Mirror Ezri and Mirror Torek. Like you'll see all these characters that have died, but they're in the Mirror Universe. So I think what might happen in the next book is they go there, they try to get some help. It's somewhat helpful, but there's something they need that they can get from the Prime timeline. And they get in contact with someone or something in the Prime timeline and have to make the decision to sacrifice their own timeline so others like the Prime timeline can survive. That's where I could be way, way off, but I think that would make sense because you do get to fulfill like this timeline collapsing, and I'm sure David Mack would like to kill all the beings in a timeline because of his record, which we love, but that there is some connection to the Prime timeline being able to survive because of it. What do you think?
Riker.
What about Riker?
Riker's straddling the timelines, and he doesn't quite understand what's going on. And if that's the first thing I thought of as you were describing that, is that Riker's going to be the fix, and he will be. They'll pull a Harry Kim with him. That will end up with
in
like,
what way?
Like Prime Riker dies for some reason, and he takes on that position.
I don't know. That kind of makes it complicated for seeing him in later
Not
Star Trek. Not
necessarily, because it's like 20 some odd year, or 10 years later or whatever.
Remember that time?
That's why he's all crazy.
That you came over from the other universe.
You want some pizza? Let's make some pizza. I'm Riker.
So Riker goes
maybe
back
not,
into the past, because that takes place in the past compared to this book.
Yeah, no, I still think it'll be Riker or Worf who's who's going to be the connecting piece there, because they are the ones who have the connecting minds, I guess you could say. You know?
I guess so. By the way, while we're talking about Worf, before I forget it, I love in this book that there is a reference
Goodness gracious,
to Spock Worf mind meld, which did happen in the Brave and the Bold books. Have you guys read those?
Years ago.
Absolutely. That is so insane that they pulled that out.
I love
holy
it.
smokes. I've read them.
I was like, I've read them and I love them. I think they're great books. And when I read them, I was like, wow, that's really weird. But then bringing it up, I was like, what? It's super deep. Like, because even people that have read like a lot of the novels may not have read that one. I think that's lesser known.
Because that's a 2-part book that covers 5 franchises.
Yeah.
Right? And each franchise covered is half of the book, basically, right? There's one chapter that takes place in Enterprise. It was the first published Enterprise.
I think so, yeah.
Anything, right? And then there was the first half of the first book is like TOS, and then the second half is Next Generation, and then there's the DS9 and Voyager. And and again, the Voyager one takes place in the 15 minutes between them leaving Deep Space Nine and getting attacked by the caretaker. That's right, so
something like that, yeah. So. But like, I did not expect that, and yes, it did happen. Worf and Spock did a mind meld. Spock has mind melded with lots of people.
So everybody knows who Michael Burnham is what you're saying.
Well, maybe he can shield that part. There's a special Michael Burnham section that he doesn't show to anybody.
What's behind that door? Never mind.
Anyway, like, okay, so let's. I know we skipped to the end, but let's go a little further because different people get together, and I kind of love that. They figured out that they need to collapse the wormhole, and they have a bunch of people in the room to talk about this. So we have Spock, we have Data. We have Bashir, we have O'Brien, there's Worf, there's also Bowers, who's now the captain of the Aventine. We've got Picard, Ro, Kira, Sisko, Quark, Odo. This is like a crazy crossover. But with the scope of the problem, for me, it totally worked, and it was fun just like seeing all of them interacting from like, TOS all the way up to DS9. And I think at one point, like when they're talking about who's going to captain what. Like, you have 5 captains there, I think. Rose, Sisko, Picard, Bowers. And Nog is there at one point.
Technically
because
Spock,
he's
too.
gotten a battlefield promotion. Oh, and I guess Spock would... Well, he's an ambassador, but I guess he was a captain before. But, like, I just wanted to ask, like, I loved it. I thought it was great. But, like, what did you think about all these crossovers and, like, having a bunch of people in the room that we know from different parts of Star Trek? Chrissy?
It doesn't bother me. I mean, you're talking about... I don't know. I look at that like, I don't want to say like I'm trying to think of the name of the peace talks, like the Versailles peace talks at the end of World War I. You have everybody who's involved there. Okay. Not quite on that level, but
like the who's who that you'll never see again, right?
Yeah, I mean, these are the people who have been the leaders of the community, and they're the community as a whole, and their various separated communities. So it makes sense to me for them all to be there. Particularly because they are on DS9. If they weren't on DS9, it would make less sense for the people from DS9 to be there. But because that's where they are, and that ends up becoming a hub of the events in the story, that makes sense.
The events in the story. By the way, out of those captains, Picard is the only one who was a captain the first time we saw him. So, which is pretty interesting. Everyone else has gotten promoted or moved up in some way. But yeah, like, so I guess I should say they find out at some point the Davidians are trying to get through the wormhole. That's how they're getting in and wreaking havoc, right? So they have to collapse the wormhole. So once they do that, it seems like it's a temporary solution, but it's only really kind of just begun. But anyway, Brendan, I should ask you, like, with all this crossover and all those people in the room, what do you think of that?
I love it because they've managed to go across all the franchises there, right? Like up into a certain point, right? Like they have TOS, Next Generation, DS9, Voyager. Like I think the only thing there, like for the TV shows, is not there was Enterprise, right? For when
we needed to have like Porthos the 57th,
or something like that, or T'Pol show up or something like that. Who knows?
T'Pol, yeah.
But no, I loved it. I thought it was wonderful that they were able to pull Spock into this because I didn't expect that. I didn't expect Spock.
I didn't.
Me either.
And he is in the novels, so it's not like out of left field.
He's in a lot of them. Like I was looking at my novels today. I was looking over, and I mean, like, there's this 2-part thing that has Romulans in it and whatnot called Maximum Warp that Spock's in, right? Like, these 2-part novels that are just numbered novels, right? Like, he's been in them a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's fantastic.
And he did need to be.
I loved it too.
He did need to be reconciled with the Prime timeline. You know, since he was involved in what happened with Romulus. You know, so he did need to be.
Yeah, which as far as I know, this is in 2387, but as far as we know, in this timeline, the Romulan star doesn't explode.
Right.
Is what it seems like, unless it's supposed to be later in the year or something. Wouldn't that be crazy if that happened at the same time? But probably not. Well, no, this is quite a different
caused
timeline.
It not to happen in this one timeline.
Yeah. But this is quite a different timeline, because the novels have had a lot of things happen, like what happened with Destiny, and a lot of things that have happened with the characters that is different than but I love that. One of the things I really love about Star Trek is that it talks about the different possibilities for people's life paths. Like, they could have gone this way or that way, or it could be slightly different. I love that stuff. So I love all that we've gotten in these novels, and that it's been a different way of kind of thinking about those characters than we're probably going to get on screen, or that we have so far. So,
while we're talking about different routes for people, I was trying to remember if Sisko and Picard have worked together to any extent before, or really spent any time together other than...
You mean outside of Emissary?
Yeah, well, that's not working together. That's just, after he's reconciled with Jennifer's death, let's say. And I don't think there is.
I don't know if there is, but there is that really wonderful scene where Picard and Sisko are talking, and I think Picard says, "I wish I could have worked with you more."
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's great, because like the other thing that I think about is, you know, for the Picard that we see in the novels, I think he's somebody that I think this is the case in the show and the movies to an extent, but he's somebody very much who can give people second chances. Like, I think especially about, like, if you go back to, you know, some of the first DS9 post-series books like Avatar, you know, Ro had defected to the Maquis in one of the last episodes in TNG, and basically in Avatar, and I really love this, he was willing to give her another chance and say, I think, you know, Starfleet could be for you. And I found that really moving when I read that book, and that's one of the reasons why I loved it and wanted to keep going forward. But it just makes me think of, like, the things they could have done together. But I don't know, Brandon, was there anywhere else where Picard and Sisko kind of worked together that's in the novels?
If they did, it would have been in one of the Typhon Pact books, but, like...
Yeah, and it's not.
But I don't know.
I don't think it is in the Typhon Pact.
Then probably not.
So that was wonderful just to see them and reflect on, like, you know, even though they hadn't worked together, like, how far they both had come since that meeting in Emissary, right? That's wonderful to reflect on.
I always thought that was kind of it could have been seen as a loose end in the show, or it could have been seen as just that's how life works. Because Sisko becomes, I don't know, he can properly grieve Jennifer's death after the experiences in Emissary. But can he ever put that aside for Picard? Can he ever be reconciled to the fact that Picard was not Picard and that was not actually his fault? And I think that could have been could have been played with in the series. Or it's just simply they don't run into each other again. They don't need to interact anymore, so Sisko isn't left having to reconcile that. You know. And then I have to wonder how many people does Picard deal with on a regular basis that lost people at Wolf 359 and all of that, which is a whole other thing that I think somebody needs to look into. But
Picard's looking at his meetings for the day and he's like, it's another person whose life I affected. Shoot, when he looks up their personnel file. I got another one of those conversations. Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting to think about. I did want to talk about something else, because we briefly mentioned that Data is in the room. And maybe not everybody has read the novels that brought Data back, the Cold Equations one, and Lal. So basically, he is kind of in a human body, but he still has... I'm trying to remember, because it's been so long since I've read them. He's... What is it? He's like in Noonien Soong's body, but with some of, like, his memories, but also Data's as well. Is that right?
He soon created a body for himself that looked perfectly human. So, you know, shades of Daj and Soji here, but I'll stop reconciling things,
well.
No, I will never stop reconciling things. Yeah, but it's also equipped with like these holographic changer things, so he can look incredibly different.
He can look like a different species or something.
He can look as different as he wants. It's one of my favorite scenes. You start reading those Cold Equations books, and you don't realize that you're following Data as he's leaving his random job where he's a line cook, and then you realize it's him. So, spoilers. Right. But it's like 3 pages into the book. Yeah. But so it is a perfectly humanoid body that he can manipulate to his heart's content, and and he has everybody's memories. I think he's got Soong's, and he's got his own, and he's got B4's, and he's got Juliana Tainer, and all of that.
It's a crowded head. And so I think at this point, and we'd seen Data in the Cold Equations novels and a little bit later, but I don't think we've seen him for a little bit. And I think by this point, he and Lal, who was kind of also resurrected, are on Omicron Theta, which is the planet where Data was originally picked up and where Soong created him, right? And they just kind of like observe stuff out in the universe when they're isolated, but they're seeing stuff that's going on elsewhere, in the different quadrants. And I think at a certain point, I think for the Aventine, they just figure out where Data is, right?
Yeah.
I think, or what is it? Like there's a certain beacon that LaForge has and Lal answers it or something, right? So they're on this planet, and I thought it was really fascinating seeing Data basically saying like, you know what, I've looked at it, it's too late. And Lal's like, you can't do that. You have to keep trying. Like, she's the more like kind of human, kind of emotional, empathetic one here, which was so interesting. And Chrissy, you'd put this on the outline, so I wanted to talk about it a little bit. Like, what'd you think about all this stuff with Data and Lal?
When he's first introduced in the book, when they're talking to each other, I made a little note that said, this is either Data or they've decided to bring the Organians into the story for some reason, because they're standing back and they're going, "No, we can't interfere, can't do anything about it." Well, but we could do something about it. And then 2 pages later, I was like, "Oh, it's Data." I thought that was a really interesting way to go for him. It was almost like, because it's not as if he and Lal wouldn't be destroyed too.
Well, he says there's like a very small chance that their matrices would survive timeline collapse, and I'm like, well, that's pretty amazing.
0.5% or whatever it was. It was something ungodly small.
Yeah, it'll just be like floating in the space between timeline. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, their matrices would survive, but is he talking in a physical sense or so? So that, and again, that seemed out of character for Data, but it kind of matches with what he's dealt with in the books. What he's become. Yeah. So, and it does reconcile too with his involvement with that League of Immortals. Oh,
that's right.
Where they kind of like are, we don't care. We're just going to watch. So I was glad to see them brought in. I was glad to see him push to do what we as the readers are going to perceive as the right thing to do. Go from there.
I mean, Data's my favorite character in TNG. I'm just always happy to see him. And in this modified form, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But Brandon, what did you think about seeing Data and Lal in this?
Data seemed a bit too pessimistic for me in this.
Yeah.
Think so?
Yeah, like where he was like not wanting to be, and he's like, he gets mad. He's like, see, this is why I told you I didn't want to contact them and whatnot, right? Because now I got to tell them that they're all dead, and like all this, and they have no hope of this, and I don't know.
But he also has a lot of Noonien and Soong in him who wanted to be isolated, and was kind of pessimistic about certain things, I think.
And a complete jerk.
Yeah, so I mean, like this could be that. That's like kind of overpowering him and whatnot. But I don't know. It felt weird. It didn't feel right. For what they're But again, it's been a while since I've read Cold Equations, right? I haven't read them since they came out, so so maybe this is consistent with that, because I don't think we've seen Data since the Cold Equations.
I think he was in. He and Lal were in Section 31 Control for a little bit, right?
Okay, I haven't gotten to that in my reread yet, so.
Okay, but yeah, there was just some brief help that they provided for that, but basically not much.
If I may make another connection, unnecessarily perhaps. Data was never afraid of dying. Soong was so afraid.
Well, he was never afraid of dying, but when he doesn't have an emotion chip. But I think with an emotion chip, that's possible for him.
Okay, well, Data was never afraid of dying. Oppositionally to Soong was so afraid of dying when he created Data and Lore and all of them, and then later in the books we find out he's so afraid of dying that he fakes his own death and puts himself in an android body, which it takes him a long time to reconcile giving up to Data. So I don't know. I feel like that could be read in the same way that Data asking to be shut down in the system in Picard can be read. He's ready to be done. He understands his life is potentially at its end with this, and that's fine, And maybe that's why he's being such a pessimist, is just like, okay, this is what's happening.
See, but the thing in Picard, it's more like, look, I'm in this hell where I'm just in this infinite loop where I'm semi-conscious and I want to be out of this because it's not living. So like even there, it's different. It's different until you realize that his human brother could have put him in a body, and the body ends up going to Picard. Did he? I don't know that he knew that Data was in there like that.
No,
he didn't really. He didn't.
So.
Okay. I gotta go back and watch those before the new season. But no, I always read that as they knew Data was in there. They didn't know how conscious he was.
Right. Yeah. They just thought his data was in there.
Yeah.
Data's data was in there.
Data's data.
So
it's Data's data.
Yep.
Let's be honest.
That's Data's data. Anyway, so I don't know. Again, I'm making parallels. I have the thing on the outline is parallels.
Parallels.
I'm just bringing it up.
That episode. Yep. Remember that episode?
Yeah. That was heavy.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's great to see them and kind of pulling all these things together. I guess one of the things that you had, Chrissy, that I hadn't mentioned is, and we had talked a bit about it before, like there's this thing on Boreth with the Gorkon and Martok and all that. And do they mention the time crystals, or we just know from Discovery there are time crystals?
They mention them in
maybe they mention
passing.
it. Okay.
I got it highlighted here. Just a moment. Okay, so we're following we're following Recall, R apostrophe KOL, and so we're getting his narrative, and it says he never questioned the nature of the crystals, as that was not his place. He knew only of their power and potential. One who touched the surface of a shard with their bare flesh was said to become briefly untethered in time, set adrift along the years of their own life to witness days pass or days yet to be. So, to me, that's they didn't call them time crystals, but that's what it is.
Yeah, I think that is a reference to the time crystals from season 2 of Discovery. But did you think there was certain significance to that, or that they'll come into play?
I wondered, and I can't remember when this popped into my head, if it was during Discovery or if it was reading this, if there is an association between the time crystals and what the orbs are made out of.
Oh, okay. Because, when you open the orb box, it looks like this glowing crystal, right?
Certainly, I think the orbs are crystalline, at least in appearance. And that's all. That's the only reason I put it down there, because it just...
okay.
Given that we were dealing with the wormhole and we've got people on Boreth, why bring it up otherwise?
Well, and given also that I think by the end of this, it seems like the orbs are kind of dead,
yes.
right?
Yes.
But maybe the time crystals can do something for them. Oh, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. What do you think, Brandon? Time crystals.
Well, I don't think they're going to play any major role. They're just another time element sensitive planet that the Davidians
that they're attracted
to. Yeah.
Okay, that could be. Really, in the end, Wesley's nanites will save the day.
Probably.
That'd be awesome.
By the way, would we get 4 Wesleys in here from different moments in time? I thought that was kind of fun. He's like, we needed some help, so I just pulled a couple more. Like, hey, how's it going? That was funny. That was just an aside. But I think, and we mentioned it a little bit, but I liked that we got some movement on Bashir's story, because basically I think at the end of Control he's kind of catatonic and unresponsive, and Garrick's been meeting with him and gone through all of this stuff, and Bashir's kind of gradually getting out of it a little bit, but I think it's Esri's death, hearing about that kind of shocks him into doing something.
If I read that right, he hadn't spoken. He was basically taking care of his needs. He's feeding himself and everything goes along with it, but not
by this point
communicating at all.
But now he has a purpose. But anyway, I thought that was good, because that was definitely a hanging thing that happened.
That was.
But what did you think about that for Bashir, Brendan?
I loved seeing Garrick in here, taking care of him, because their friendship was very important to him. You know, it was a very, very important relationship for the both of them, I think. Mm-hmm. And
missed opportunity for them not to have lunch after that.
I think so too. Yeah, they could have totally had lunch.
But yeah, no, it was wonderful that he was kind of lovingly taking care of him. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
even Kukulaka was there.
Kukulaka,
and he left Kukulaka behind. So
he did. Because he knows he's not coming back.
That was heartbreaking too.
Yeah. So I think we've talked about a lot of stuff within this novel, and even where we think it's going. But I'll just open it up now for other things we want to talk about. Chrissy, are there other things you had?
Well, just to list off the deaths. I mean.
Oh yeah, let's talk death.
Not in correct order, I think, because it was just as I was remembering him. But you've got Roe and Quark on DS9 too.
Yeah, and they were together at the end. I kind of like that, because they have a little relationship going. That was sweet. Yeah.
You got Miles. Also heartbreaking.
Yeah, I was heartbroken by that scene where he's telling Kira, as he's welding this thing shut so that she can be safe, to give a kiss to the wife and the kids, and he's just doing his duty and dying. Yeah, that was,
especially because that
was heartbreaking.
They're out there on that ship with Jake and his wife, and then of course Nog.
Yeah,
they see Nog's ship
and Nog
destroyed, and then Martok.
Captain Nog, he is a captain.
Yes, Captain Nog. Yeah.
And what I was a little unsure about Martok and the Klingons, because the ship crashes and they're like, okay, let's go into battle, but you don't really see them die.
And then there's scenes with them after. They didn't die.
No, there are some scenes after, but I think there's the last time we see them, at least from my notes, there's the implication that now they're just going to die a glorious death. Yeah. But you don't see them die, right?
Oh, no, I'm looking.
So I would say Martok, ? Okay. I don't know.
Well, as a wise man once said, they're not dead as long as you remember them.
This is true.
And wait till you see Mirror Martok in the next... Are we going to... wouldn't it be wild if we had, mirror versions of, all the major characters that have been killed?
Well, I was looking at something while we were talking here. So, I'm sure I saw this, that David Mack said that the next book is the longest book he's ever written for Star Trek.
Ooh.
He did say that, yes.
And I was looking up... I think
it's 400 pages, right?
Well, he doesn't say how many pages, I don't think. He said words.
Well, usually, on Amazon, you can tell.
Well, Destiny 3 is 444 pages, but...
Is it really?
But these books have more words on a page now that they're the trade paperback size. Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm hoping it's close to 400 pages.
So according to Amazon, it's 448. So... a little bit longer than that Destiny book. And that's pretty... I mean, of course, we have had longer books. What's the longest one?
David
is
Mack
the
one. Or David R. George one.
David R. George, the McCoy Crucible, which is 600 pages or something. But
the first Crucible
no, that's
book.
So good.
That's oh man, I need to read that. But no, that's long. So and these ones haven't been as long. They've been 330, 350 or something like that. So there's a lot of potential, and I almost feel like it's going to be split into a lot of different parts, or flipping between the mirror universe and
I hope it's 600 pages.
Novel verse.
Me too.
This is the last one. This thing, I want it to be long.
I hope it's 6,000 pages and it can last me for a whole year.
We'll have a tough time talking about it on the podcast.
Okay, listeners, no podcasting for a year while we digest this book. No, but anyway. But there'll be a lot going on there, it sounds like.
Yeah, I found the part with Martok, and it's the middle of chapter 4. They start reciting a poem, and the end of it is the naked stars, each one remembering. And my page just okay. The naked stars, each one remembering. He tightened his grip on the twin necklace and ran toward a glorious death. So that's what
it says, but that doesn't mean he dies.
Okay, but
because there's plenty of novels where it's like they ran toward their death or they thought they were dying and they didn't. But yeah, maybe.
Okay.
I just have this feeling we'll see some of these characters again, but maybe it's in the mirror universe, So
or the prime timeline. That's what I love. There's still a lot of possibilities. Like Brandon, you could be right about what your theory is. Chrissy, you could be right. I could be right. It could be something we have no idea about. I hope it's
probably all wrong.
We could be all wrong.
Anyway, to end the list of the dead, the prophets are the last one that I had on the list.
Oh, that is a good point. The prophets. Yeah. Now, I have a question about that. Because the prophets are outside of time, and they seem to, I think, have the ability potentially to influence other timelines. So are they... Does this mean they're gone in all timelines, or they're just gone in this timeline, or...
Yes.
Yeah.
Which one?
Yes. Yes.
Yes to number 1 or to number 2?
Yes.
Dead in this one or this one? All? We don't know.
Okay. So here's what confuses me about this. They have no concept of linear time. Are they...
They've always known they were going to sacrifice themselves, I guess.
Are they Schrodinger's prophets here in the wormhole? Are they both dead and alive at the same time for the entirety of the time that we know them? Not to make it like joking, but in all seriousness, because they do experience everything at once. So
if you were to see their actual form, they're just giant cats.
Yes.
So they really are Schrodinger's cats. Anyway,
I don't think that they necessarily exist outside of time. Yes, that's something that was said in the pilot episode, right? But then it's like they learned what time was, and they were able to, understand it and how it works.
Time.
It's kind of
what is this?
It's kind of like Future Guy on Enterprise. When the first time you meet him, you got that weird echo effect, and then every time after, they're like, "This is nonsense. We're not doing this anymore." And then they stopped doing that weird pre-echo effect, right? Like because it was just.
I love that.
Or like where they were frozen on Stargate all the time, and then they just weren't.
I didn't watch Stargate.
Anyway, but yes, I guess we'll find out. What are the mirror prophets like? Anyway. We've never seen that.
Actually, we dealt with the mirror prophets, didn't we? Because they talked to Ileana Gamora. They're just the prophets.
That right? Oh, I'd forgotten about that. So
anyway,
that's where my confusion goes in, because it seems like in the novels, like the prophets are the prophets no matter what timeline, and they can cross across these. So are they dead like everywhere?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. I think so too. I think there's one prophets, and that's it. So.
Like Q,
I mean, if that's the case, then they respect what's in the book. That means we can't see like them in the prime timeline anymore. But
why would we?
Maybe that wouldn't happen.
Except for the reckoning tablet on Picard's table.
Picard.
Because there's going to be a reset button, and this timeline will just continue at the end of the third book. And
everyone
dies.
Why.
There'll be a reset button.
Do you really think...
Just,
okay, honestly, pause and think about this. Do you think they just killed the prophets in the prime timeline as we see on Star Trek Picard?
I don't think so, which makes me think that they only killed the ones in this timeline and that they don't actually cross the timelines in the way we think.
I think
but then if the Davidians are crossing over all timelines, then that they, so the Davidians originated in this timeline.
I need the third book to settle this argument.
Yeah. I think the prophets are dead until I'm told otherwise. That's how I'm coming to it.
Yeah, I just love Chrissy's theory. And if the reason why we have Crazy Riker in Lower Decks and Star Trek Picard is because it's really Mirror Riker the whole time, I'm okay with that, okay?
No, I didn't mean Mirror Riker.
Yes, you did.
No, I meant...
Novel-verse Riker. Anyway, of course we've gone way off, but thank you for enumerating the deaths. We honor your sacrifice, all of you novel-verse dead. We miss you. Okay, so... Brandon, did you have anything else you wanted to bring up we haven't talked about so far? Pizza, maybe?
No more pizza. I don't think so. I mean, like this book was really good. Like I really once I finally had time, like I read the first 50 or 60 pages or whatever, and then when I finally got to the rest, I burned through the rest. Like I had time at work to read and I couldn't put it down. You know, like I'm sitting there talking with my buddy Pablo at work, and I'm like, Pablo, they're gonna blow up the wormhole. He's like, he's got no idea what I'm talking about, right?
He doesn't know Star Trek, huh? Yeah.
He's like, oh.
He's like, the what? They have worms in a hole?
Yeah, so.
He's going fishing.
Yeah.
So, every time a chapter ended, I'd turn to Pablo, right? Because it was quiet at work. And I'd be, Pablo, they're doing this. And he's like, oh.
Oh, by the way, Brandon, I should have mentioned it. Pulaski is in
yeah?
this. How cool is that?
Not enough. Not nearly enough.
Not enough Pulaski, but at least we got some. I love that. And she's on the Athene Donald, which is reference to, what was that, in the Missing, that book. But I wanted to ask about that because they talk about it a little bit, but they didn't really do anything with it in this book because Beverly Crusher is talking with Pulaski and trying to explore what happened. What was it with Pulaski and Unnatural Selection, where she had this aging thing and it got reversed in the transporter, and she's trying to see if they can do something like that with Renee. So what do you think Beverly's going to do with the information she gets? Is she going to find a way to turn him back into like a 6-year-old?
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah. What do you think, Chrissy?
I think they're all going to be dead, so it won't matter.
I do have a theory for something.
I know that's terrible.
He'll have one, but before they all die, Renee will have one last fun time on the beach as a 6-year-old.
Maybe.
That's pretty dark, but sorry, go ahead, Brandon.
I do have one theory for something that I think is going to pay off in the finale. And I think I know who the hero of this all is going to be. This is not a joke. Okay, this is not, you know how I
Peanut hamper.
No, it's not peanut. I come up with this grand introduction for my theory, and then it's some absolute ridiculous theory. I do that frequently.
No, go ahead.
I do. But as they've mentioned her a couple of times, and they don't know where she is, I think Guinan is going to come in and save the day. In the end.
Yes.
Oh, you know what? Yeah. She's mentioned in this, and they say that they don't know where she is.
We haven't heard from her and whatnot. She's going to come in.
She's going to ride in with Q and the Metrons and the Organians.
I just pictured Q as a horse, with Guinan riding in on him.
Oh my God.
With her, like, doing her claw thing, like, you better keep riding, horse Q.
There's some serious fanfic possible right there.
And
Guinan riding Q. Let's just say
evil
that. Okay, anyway,
kitty cat from Prodigy comes in.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Speaking of
what did you call it? Domicatrix?
Domicatrix.
That's an infinite diversity deep cut right there. Go ahead.
There was a totally random. Speaking of Prodigy, though, there was a one of those
this is all random.
peanut hamper style robots in the episode briefly.
Oh, was there?
Yeah.
Oh, in Prodigy?
Yeah, this week.
I think so. Yeah.
And I was like, look, it's peanut hamper.
So okay, Guinan, I like that. So I have a question about something I noted. Where I felt like something is off here, and we talked about this with the last book, where I was like, Beverly kind of faints, and it seems that's the kind of thing morphed it in parallels, and maybe we've been following a slightly different timeline than the Novelverse one. So here's something that I caught. It's on page 91 in the physical book. So I think Beverly is talking to Jean-Luc on the bar. So basically they're just talking about stuff and Starfleet not listening. And she says, they listened when you told them about the Borg, she reminded him. That was 10 years ago, he noted. Much has changed since then. So this book takes place in 2387. So 10 years before would be 2377. What happened with the Borg? Is there something I missed from a novel or something?
Destiny.
Because I thought that would have been Destiny is 2381. It is 6 years before this, not 10. So that
First Contact.
Felt like that was something was First Contact was 2373. So
yeah.
Is this some novel reference I'm missing or something? Maybe listeners will know, but I thought that was a little bit off. Like, what happened in 2377 with the Borg?
Ask the Google machine.
When was the Time 2s?
A Time 2 would have been 2378. And there was no Borg in that.
Wait, so then 2377 is before Nemesis.
It's 2 years before Nemesis, right? Maybe there's something else, because isn't there something else that takes...
It's got to be First Contact.
No, First Contact is before then. Unless he's just not remembering how many years it is. Anyway, just wanted to plant that because I noticed it and I was like, I don't think anything happened that I know of with the Borg at that time. So
I just assumed it was a Destiny reference, is what
I
I
assumed it
It's
was
not.
Destiny too.
It's
Yeah.
not.
Did you put the year into Memory Alpha and Memory Beta?
I didn't, although like Memory Beta doesn't have everything it should.
Okay, understood. But if if it's from a novel,
okay, so sorry. Yeah, hold on.
is it just 2377?
Oh, okay. So you can put okay, so yeah, you're right. If you look up 2377, it says the Borg once again returned to assimilate the Alpha Quadrant. Star Trek video game Armada 2.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe. I mean, they are pulling in random.
No. That must be what. No, James Swallow pulls in some deep
Yeah.
stuff. So he's pulling that from a video game. That's why I didn't get it. Okay.
He's the one who does the lists, right, on his website of where everything comes, the annotations.
No, isn't that...
Christopher
Oh,
Robinson
excuse me.
does that.
Okay. Never mind.
James
Okay,
Swallow
but
might-
Yeah, opening end of the game Star Trek Borg
Good.
is set in this year.
Okay. So video game reference.
Okay.
That's cool though. Okay.
Deep
When
cut.
Problem solved. Very deep cut. There's some super
is-
deep
Now you
cuts
can
in
sleep
here,
tonight. Now
guys.
you can
Deep,
sleep.
deep cut.
Thank you. I'm gonna fall asleep now. No, I'm not gonna fall asleep now. Okay, I'm just trying to see if there's anything.
I don't understand any of this
miscellaneous.
series because I haven't played that game.
Completely off kilter.
That's what I mean. I told people they couldn't read these books if they hadn't read the other ones. So if I haven't read that, played that
And you have
game,
to you have to play all the games and read all the comics too. That's right. Okay, I think I may be done with all the stuff that I noted.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm gonna I'll do my canon connections because this is fan service done right, and it made my heart happy and sad at the same time. And you forgive, I have an EPUB edition, so I don't have the same. If you don't have the, if you have the hard copy, it's not the same page numbers. But okay, chapter 6. I don't know if that is the first time we come back to the Aventine. No, it's not. But anyways, Bowers is pondering, and he thinks to himself that Aventine is a half-empty house, which I immediately thought of the beginning of Search for Spock with the captain's log. Enterprise feels like a house with all the children gone.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's
very
that. My favorite, somebody's stealing the Enterprise. Well, it would appear that somebody is a student of history. That's chapter 7.
Yes.
Yep. And then 2 pages later, there's like you can't go to Impulse in space dock. You can only thrusters, which is undiscovered country. But
Yeah.
and then toward the end, and of course we get the Kirk contingency from that, and that's absolutely beautiful. And I could talk about that for a while, but I'm not going to. Toward the end, Picard says to Data, "Mon Dieu, what have we done?" Data responds.
You know what? I didn't even
get
that.
Data responds.
What have we done?
What we
Yeah.
have always
Oh, I got
strived
that
to
one,
do,
yeah.
Captain. Defy the odds and go on in the face of the impossible. And for those
Okay.
who are not,
I got the second part, but for
Yeah.
the first one, I wasn't even thinking about like my God bones. What have
yeah.
we done?
So if you're not,
Nice.
if listeners are going, wait, what? After they've destroyed the Enterprise in Star
Yeah,
Trek
Star
3,
Trek 3.
Kirk looks at Bones. He says, "My God, Bones, what have I done?" And Bones says, "What you had to do, what you always do, turn death into a fighting chance to live." Which, when I read this, and even as I'm saying it, it's raising the hair on my arms, and I love that
Nice.
because aside from it appears that somebody's a student of history, there's no reason that anybody reading that would feel, if they weren't aware of the reference, would feel like they were left out of something. And so that's fan service done right, and I love it. I have
Nice.
no other canon connections. So.
Okay, so there's a ton of canon connections,
yeah.
but I'll just pick out one that I love. So Nog ship, the Sadikoi, is California
Yes!
class, which is the class of the Cerritos on lower decks. So, like, I'm just picturing some of the lower decks characters on this ship sacrificing themselves for the good of the universe.
Oh, you
Did
know
they say
Blameless
California
right there.
class?
Yeah,
They said it's California
Oh, I
class.
missed that.
I
Yes.
highlighted that, yeah.
Nice, nice.
I was like, California class. Awesome. Anyway, that's my favorite one. Do you have a favorite one, Brandon?
Pulaski.
Pulaski.
Yeah.
Just having Pulaski show up.
By the way, Pulaski has a daughter, Jackie. I had to look it up. It's from a DS9 comic.
God.
Oh my goodness.
Because I was like, he has a I kept looking for things that are wrong with the timeline, but it's from a DS9 comic called The Cancer Within.
Nice.
Anyway, any other final thoughts you guys have before we go insane with speculation until we can read the next book?
Bring on the damn book.
Give me the book.
Yeah, bring it on. All right, listeners, this is a bonus episode for this week. You know where to find us. On the next episode, we'll be talking about the next episode, episode 5 of Prodigy. We don't know the title yet, but I think it's going to be amazing. Until then, peace and long life.
Pulaski's such a better doctor than Crusher that Crusher even goes to Pulaski for help.
Oh, I think they're just as good. I love both of them.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.
I did forget last time, didn't I?
Yeah.
you did.
You know who doesn't forget?
Yeah.
History with the Szilagys. They don't forget.
They don't forget anything. They remember all history all the time.
No.
Have access to
But I
you
know
have
where to
access
find it.
to all past, present, and future history of all potential timelines.
Oh,
You have
yeah.
that power.
Yes.
That's right. I forgot. We're in the wormhole.
Which one of you two has
All
the
right,
snake?
so
No, we're the prophets.
not your snake. No, put your snake away. Okay, so hold on, my cat wants attention. She's gone. Okay, so yeah, let's get into it and oh, Frida, no.
Sorry.
Something for the end. All right. Yeah, and James Swallow will be like, "Oops, that was a typo."
And it might be, and that would be really funny. But, whatever.
Yeah. That says what?
And Justin's like, you
anyway.
f***ing asshole, I've been up all f***ing week trying to figure that shit out.
Haven't slept in 30 days thinking about it. Yeah.